Hi everyone, how are you all doing? I just thought I'd come on tonight, well today, depending where you're listening, and give a quick update on the current energies, what I've been going through on my end. I just wanted to start out by saying that it's been a very, very intense month, and with all of the retrograde energies, there's definitely been some intense purging along with the eclipse energies that came in. We are coming into a new moon, a black supermoon from what I understand. And for me personally, I just wanted to share that I've really been unearthing old wounding and facing even more of my self-worth. If you hear some running around, that's my kitten. It's so funny. I was drawn to get a cat, and I've known other people on this journey that have gone through that as well, where they just suddenly felt like they needed a cat. And this finally happened to me. So I got my kitty. Her name is Rosie. She's a sweet Persian girl. It's crazy what the energy is that she's brought. She's really come along and helped to heal my heart, I really feel, right off the bat. She came in and I was hoping for a cat that would purr a lot, and when I first got her, all she did was constantly purr. Purr, purr, purr. She was always purring. And just so happy. Now she's in that sort of hyper kitten playful stage. I've had her for a bit now. So she's getting more adventurous and exploring. So for me, it seemed that a cat was very necessary on this portion of my journey, and I could see why. My heart was going through some sort of major expansion, clearing, healing, opening, and there she would be, just purring on my chest, which was what I envisioned before I got her. And I just asked Spirit to guide me to the right cat. And oddly enough, I was supposed to get a different cat and it just was not working. And finally, I even told the guy it must not be meant to be. And he was even really rude and stuff. And that was a bit intense. But something told me that my right cat was out there somewhere else. And that night I saw her ad, and I was willing to go pick her up at 10:30 at night or send them the money for her just by seeing her picture. It was so weird, and my son felt the connection too when he saw her picture. So she came along at right the perfect time. The weird thing was that I had been feeling really good. I had really been distanced from the whole twin flame connection, from his energy. I was dealing with my karmic and just really kept facing over and over and over again certain aspects of myself that really needed to be faced head on, and things that were painful to face in a way. And I just kept being drawn back into the karmic, and that's very common. It does happen. If you're going through that, you're not alone. So my karmic and I were just sort of in and out and in and out, and then we'd be out, and then he'd be trying to sort of hang out and be my friend, but then sort of acting too boyfriend-ish, and it was just in these weird gray areas. And then at some points just being very careless and disrespectful to me, even just as a friend. So the triggers were coming up, and I was facing certain things of like Why have I been keeping this person in my life? Why do I allow myself to get sucked back into what I'm now viewing as manipulation or even sort of control over me in a certain way? So I had to face some hard truths, and even some hard truths about my neediness, my codependency that is still remaining, even though I've improved so much over the years. I mean, I was married, lived fully with a husband who, him and I were extremely codependent on each other, to being a single woman, single mom, dating here and there in recent years, and then finally meeting my karmic. And even with him and I, we always kept quite a lot of distance within the relationship. It didn't go too codependent, but I did start to get used to the companionship. I did allow him to get to know my son. So to break free of this relationship has been very hard. I've tried many times, and then I would feel like he knows how I work and he would suck me back in energetically and just know how to say the right things and do the right things to just reel me back in. And sometimes I would find it almost shocking in retrospect when I look back at it in a way of, how did he manage to do that? What am I doing? I know this isn't the right connection, and what am I doing? Why do I keep going for this or believing in this when it's very clear that I should not? So that has been coming up, and it's been getting more and more clear. This past week, it's been about 5 days now that I haven't even spoke to him at all. He did text me a couple times. He went away, and I need his energy away. I can't speak to him. I've tried to be friends or whatever, and he's just pushing too far. So I'm finally feeling this sort of strength coming through, and something I also had to face with my ex, where it feels like just clarity in that I can see my own actions and how I'm contributing by having a lower self-worth and sort of putting up with things that I shouldn't put up with in the first place. And I feel like some people, even years ago, my twin, it's like they look at me like, why are you letting me be like this? And this is the hard thing, is I'm very much in my feminine. I'm very nurturing. I'm very kind and forgiving and want to see the best in everybody. But my whole challenge in all of the balancing of my own energies has been to come into more of my masculine, to be more logical, stronger, have more boundaries. So with the current energies, it really felt like facing these sort of, I'm not ever going to say final lessons because it's never final, but these deeper lessons, we'll say, of the reality of where I'm at in that, and knowing that I needed to improve. And in learning all about the law of attraction and about how to manifest, I'm not doing it correctly when it comes to my life. I'm doing certain aspects correctly, but not with the love life part and relationships. So that's been really kicking my butt and really having to face some harsh truths with people that trigger me a lot, which are my mother and this karmic relationship, my ex-husband. Him and I were really butting heads over some stuff to do with our son. Man, it was a very intense month, very intense. So there were times when I was definitely purging, needed to hermit. I've said it before that during these times, I just work a lot less. A lot less work comes in, and a lot more of the healing work will come in. And I'll never do healing when I'm in a really purging zone. I would never want my energy to affect my healing, so I always make sure that I will set up the healings around when I feel okay, or even postpone them if I wasn't feeling fully up to it energetically. So my twin had just felt very distant from me, and maybe a month and a half ago I finally had a dream about him. And in this dream I met with him and who I perceived to be his karmic, and it was funny. It was like him and I were a little bit awkward in my dream, and we were just both trying to be really kind to her and make her feel comfortable and just sort of be like, oh, we're just friends, sort of a vibe, you know. And I woke up from that dream, and it was again one of those dreams where you just remember it so clearly. It feels so real, like it really happened. So I thought, oh, okay, that's weird. I finally dreamt of him, but it wasn't intense enough to really reel me back into the sort of twin flame dynamic. So things were going on again, like I just mentioned, with my karmic, and I was on the hunt for a kitty cat, and I was totally revamping my home. I don't know if any of you went through that this past month, but the past month I was in a mood to just revamp everything, fix up things that I had left undone, sort of complete my decoration. Excuse me. And just within manifesting, it was so neat that I bought all these things that I've always wanted to. Like silly things in a way, but like a Vitamix blender or a Kangen water filter. Things that I didn't used to feel worthy of. I used to be a lot more stingy in a way because I was so afraid when it came to money. And in the past years, my first ways of seeing how the law of attraction and manifestation was working was through traveling. So I've been traveling a lot, like I've mentioned in some of my other videos, going to literally all the places that were at the top of my bucket list, all the places I dreamed of. It feels like a completion in a way. Of course, I still want to travel, but I've hit the big ones, you know, I've hit the major ones that I just felt I had to get to, and the universe really conspired to make those happen. I talk about that on my video about manifestation. Excuse me. So now it's centered around home for me. So, you know, clean, pure water, organizational things. I got a sort of bed that lifts up and I can store stuff underneath it. The cat and all the things I needed for my cat, and she's very cozy and makes it very homey. And a new kitchen table. I had an old one for, you know, it was just so old and worn out, and, you know, all these basics in a way, but yet a barbecue, or like, you know, just, I don't know, instead of a trip in a way, I finally put money on home, and like even things for myself, for my son, taking my son out to do fun things. So it was really great to feel in that flow. So a part of that was getting the cat. So I had found this cat one night, like I mentioned earlier, saw her pictures, and was literally going to pick her up that night. My heart started beating when I saw her. It reminded me of when I saw my son, you know, when your baby's born. I just felt like, or when I saw my twin, like that connection, you know, like it was like, oh my goodness, I feel this. So offered to pick her up that night at 10:30, and they said, no, it's fine. Like, we'll hold her for you. Don't worry. Because I was so afraid someone else was going to get her. So I said, okay, I'll get her the next day. That night I went to bed, and again, a very intense dream of my twin. And this was about a month and a half after that initial one with his girlfriend. Now, in this one, it was me and him and his karmic again. And in this one, she was sort of in a state of completion. Like, okay, I finished what I had to get through with him. Thank you. And she's just like, he belongs with you now. And I was just like, really? And I was sort of like, are you sure? And she was just kind of like, yes, you know. She seemed very calm, very kind, very sure about it. And I remember in the dream, I think him and I just sort of like, you know, held our hands together, and I just looked at him and he looked at me, and I was like, whoa, you know. We had like her blessing in a way, because it's odd that I've never met my twin's karmic, but energetically, I just sort of feel like I feel her energy. So she's so close to my twin, and I don't know, I just pick up certain aspects of her, and then these dreams, she comes through in that same sort of a way. So I had that dream. I woke up the next morning and I was just like, wow, okay, that one really, it hit me hard. It hit me hard in a way of, okay, maybe that connection isn't fully lost. And I had this feeling that he was looking at my Instagram, and I look at his, and we admitted a year ago that we were looking at each other's. And so I just thought to myself, what are we doing? Like, why are we being so silly? I'm just going to follow him. Before, that would have scared me or something, or I'd be so afraid of, well, what if he doesn't follow me back? I'll feel rejection, and I'm so afraid of that. Or so I just avoid in a way. Sorry, I have like a frog in my throat or something. So I just randomly decided to follow him on Instagram. And maybe 10 or 15 minutes later, I saw the notification that he followed me back. And I remember just feeling like, because the way that I know him, you know, if he didn't care about me, like, he wouldn't bother, you know, he's just not the type. And obviously I know that by now, but I just felt like a sigh of relief. And we left it for a few days, and he was looking at all my stories. And that same day was the day I was going to pick up my cat. So I drive to go pick up my new cat, and right away I was just so happy. And I had a reading about not quite a year ago, last winter, and this psychic is a twin flame. She's very powerful, and she told me, and it's hard to do a reading on yourself, I will first say that as well. So I hadn't had a reading in years and years, and in the winter of last year, I'd been talking to her a lot as a friend. I thought, you know what, in a way I was like, let's just pay her to have a reading. Like, I don't want to say felt charitable, but you know what I mean? She was going through some stuff, and I just sort of more wanted to support her business. But her actual reading blew me away, and I was like, okay, that was meant to be. Like, whoa. So she had told me that a big sign for me was going to be rainbows. When it came to my twin, I would see rainbows. And I remember at the time thinking like, oh, well, that's pretty cheesy, okay. Like, I'm just going to randomly see a rainbow and think, oh, he's thinking of me or something. So I wasn't fully buying it. But the funny thing was when I ended up in my twin flame's small town, I saw a double rainbow, and I took a picture of it. And then I hadn't seen a rainbow since, and driving home from getting my cat on the morning that him and I followed each other, I saw 3 rainbows. So I was like, okay, I see. So a few days passed, and finally I just thought, I'm just going to say hi or something to him. So I just wrote, hey, and then he wrote me back and just said, hey, are you doing okay? And we ended up texting back and forth on Instagram for, I don't know, maybe 3.5 hours or something like that this time. and just catching up and hearing about each other's lives. And it was very neutral, but very, how would you describe? Like, he said things that I knew what the underlying meaning was in a way, but yet he didn't say anything bad about his current girlfriend or his current situation in a way, but yet he was sort of telling me truths of what things were really like with some of his comments. And I told him about the synchronicities, ending up in his town with none of my doing, because my karmic's dad lived really close to there and wanted to take us for a drive there. It was in one of my old videos if you hadn't listened to that. And I told him that when I was coming back from New York, which, as a side note, I went to New York to meet with a couple of twin flame friends of mine. We did some major healing work. On the way back, my twin is an actor, so on the way back I saw a film was playing that he's in on the airplane. And I don't really like to watch his films, but I think I might have mentioned in a previous video that he has a tattoo for me, and the tattoo showed very, like, if you would have seen that in a movie theater, it would show on the whole screen. And so I mentioned to him, like, oh, I was coming back from New York and it was so weird. I saw your movie was playing, so I just skimmed through and I saw my tattoo. And he told me that he has all sorts of tattoos, and he said they covered all of mine except for that one. And what are the chances? Like, the way the clothing was positioned, like the pants were folded up, and he didn't tell me synchronicities from his end. I think he's still trying to have respect for his karmic, but he basically just said, like, there's some crazy stuff going on. So, and he told me that it's hard for him, like, it's really nice for him to catch up with me and talk to me, but as he's told me before, it's also really hard. Like, he thinks our situation is so sad and, it sort of sucks or something like that, and it's hard for him to deal with, sort of a vibe. And I said, it's hard for me too, but I'd rather be in touch with you and, just being friends. I don't see any harm in that, or just to say hello, how's your life? Sometimes I don't think that's being disrespectful or anything like that. And I really just, I tried to be very supportive of him and his current relationship, as hard as it can be as a twin. I feel very thankful for her. I feel very thankful for the lessons that she's bringing to him. She's helping him to calm down and settle down, I feel, in his life. There's aspects that she's really, really, really assisting him with. And even with my karmic, there's things that he assisted me with that needed to happen. And it was funny because my karmic even came up in the conversation, and I told my twin that him and I broken up, and he was just saying, like, some funny jokes. Like, there's an old picture from 2017. It was the first time I posted a picture of my boyfriend and I at the time, and we'd been dating for a couple months. It was New Year's Eve. It was a nice photo, so I'm like, okay, I'm gonna post it, but I could feel it. Like, when I was posting, like, oh my god, my twin's gonna see it. Like, I felt anxious almost, but I just thought, I've got to move on with my life. I've got to just keep moving forward. And he didn't post it, but I had not accidentally, by creeping him, I saw a tagged picture of him and his karmic, and that was the first time I knew that he had a girlfriend, and it was so hard for me to see. So he had mentioned when we spoke a year ago that he saw that picture of my karmic and I. And then in the recent chat, and again, I posted that picture in 2017. In the recent chat, I said to him that we broke up, and he's like, that's good. He's like, I didn't like his choice in socks anyways. And he was wearing like a patterned sock, like in this photo that I had posted. And I just thought that was so adorable in a funny way that my twin remembered like a detail even so much as his socks. Like, that's the kind of signs that you kind of sit with each other. So we did chat back and forth, and then just sort of, left it at that. He's still been looking at my stories, and I just feel energetically the feminine just has to let the masculine continue to awaken. The feminine has to drop expectations. The feminine has to honor the current situation for what it is and stop trying to pull or battle against it. And if anything, even have gratitude for it. Have gratitude for the space that it's giving you in your life to get the things done that you want to get done and do the inner work that needs to happen. Even if this union were to come together, it needs to be within a clean, stable energy, or it's just too powerful. It short circuits, it falls apart, it crumbles. It's just too much. So the energies have to be just so, as we all know. So just having that patience with it. There's a lot of twin flames I know that they fully gave up in a way, and I did feel like I was there, so that's why I shared that story, to just say, I was just like my friends, like, yeah, I just feel done with it, even if I don't last with my karmic, life's just gonna go on. Like, I just think he's with his karmic, they'll probably get married, and that's the end of that. Like, it was a special connection, and I'll definitely help other twin flames going through it, but I'm just feeling over it. My life has moved on. But again, these weird synchronicities, my karmic saying, oh, we're going to this town, and it's his town. And then recently the dreams, and, and maybe if he didn't follow me back on Instagram, it'd be like, okay, but again, you get all these signs that love is there. It's powerful. It's beautiful. I think it's important for twins to not try to resist that and battle against that love like it's a bad thing and it's a negative thing, because I think there's a lot out there telling twin flames to almost become avoidant towards it, whereas what I've found is when you can just embrace it and see it for what it is, even when it's hard. Sometimes I feel that feeling lately from talking to him. I did get triggered, I'm not going to lie. That's why it's hard, to speak to each other. It can bring stuff up. And again, I went into that sort of like, oh, it's so painful. It's so unfair. Like, why can't we just be together? Like, that whole sort of sad and lonely and longing sort of a vibe. And instead of resisting that and saying, no, I'm fine, I faced it. I felt it. I really, really felt it. I felt into it deeply. And I felt into why, what is it? Why do I need it, or think I need it, or want it so badly? What am I craving? I went deep, deep, deep into myself. I went deep into wanting a partner to show me my worth, wanting a partner to show me I'm worth it. And I feel like that's why lately, in conjunction with, manifesting and law of attraction, it was happening more lately, because I said to myself, I am worth what I want for myself. I am worth good things. I put more value on myself. When I was younger, when I met my twin, I was so careful. I would only buy myself, something, say, on major discount, and I thought, don't get me wrong, there's a part of that that's just being smart, but also in a way, I don't think I had the self-worth to feel I was worth some good things that really meant a lot to me that I wanted, And I'm not telling you to be materialistic, but at the same time, maybe it is a trip or an experience, or maybe you're getting underpaid or underappreciated at work and you need to stand up for yourself. I've turned down some jobs recently when I just think they're not valuing me enough, or it's hard to describe, but I am a makeup artist, so, say a big brand comes to me and they want to undercut my rate so much. I've lost jobs because I thought, no, I'm not lowering my worth. And the more I kept this mentality, the more I'm calling forth the jobs that do pay me what I want to be paid and honor me, and it's a much better vibe than sacrificing yourself. And then I'm seeing that within relationships. Why did I sacrifice myself so much to keep certain friendships, to keep certain relationships, or with this karmic? I was sacrificing my happiness, my well-being at times, just for the sake of having that relationship. And it's not worth it. I value myself more now. So I'm available if any of you are wanting to do some healing, if you'd like some coaching. Again, usually my sessions consist of just chatting for the first while, sort of letting you process, release, have someone to talk to that understands this whole journey, even just the awakening and ascension journey, the twin flame and soul connections, wherever you're at, So we start with that, then I'll pull cards, and then I'll do healing work dependent on what came up in the session, what the cards show me. We'll give you guidance and give you somewhere to go from there. A lot of my clients find it's helpful. And like I said, even for me, I ended up randomly, I thought I had it all sort of under control. And like I said, I ended up randomly getting a session with someone else. And she really brought stuff up that I wasn't seeing for myself, or I wasn't willing to see for myself. Sometimes it's hard to see things for ourselves or connect intuitively, deeply with ourselves without our own blockages and things that we are dealing with on this journey getting in the way of what's trying to come through. So sometimes it's nice to just have that other person to help, even sometimes just to clarify what you're getting, or, jumbled messages or confusion of what to do with your life even, or where to go from here. So I just try to assist people in whatever way I'm called to. It feels like part of my soul mission. Yes, I still do my makeup work, but I'm very blessed that it's like having on call. So I have a pretty open schedule to fit in healing work and sessions, and I do Reiki and a few other modalities of healing, and pretty much just my own healing. I don't know, there's no name to it. It's just what I do, what I naturally feel. And all of us have these gifts that are on this journey, for sure. For sure. We all are very intuitive and get messages, but again, sometimes it's just difficult to get clarity when you're trying to find answers for yourself or a little direction. And I also have clients that, they'll come to me for a session, and then they'll go a while and just really work on things themselves, navigate through things themselves, and then they'll come back to me again for a session. It's just whatever works for you. So I hope that you're all having a great month. Hang in there. We're almost through these intense energies. If you want, share what you've been going through, what you've been feeling below. I'm sending you all so much love and light, and all the best to you.